The story that we're going to read tonight is called Under the Quilt of Night. And this story parallels the story that you just read about the Underground Railroad. The story that you had just read was the drama followed the drinking gourd. So listen to the similarities as we read Under the Quilt of Night by Deborah Hopkinson, illustrated by James E. Ransom. Under the Quilt of Night. Running. I'm young, but my legs are strong. I can run. I run so fast I lead the way. The ones I love race right behind, pounding dirt and grass, jumping rocks and roots. My feet make drum beats on the path. I'm running far away from the farm where the master worked us, hoeing and picking, mending and sewing, till my hands got raw. Take a look at that line, my feet make drum beats on the path. The author is using a metaphor to compare drum beats to the footprints of the person who is running. This is almost written in like a poem format. So it's not actually sentences that you're used to in a story. It is the perspective of a little girl who is running with her family and others from the farm. Now he wants to track me, catch me, chase me till my breath is gone, fence me in to be a slave again. But I'll make my steps quick whispers in the dark. I'll run where he won't find me, under the quilt of night. Think about, what do you think the author is referring to as the quilt of night? A river? We searched long to find the little boat hidden in the reeds. Is it safe to go over? The water's deep and fast, but we cross without a sound, like the moon coming up over my shoulder to float across the sky. This reminds me of that scene where in the Follow the Drinking Gourd, they had to bring Big Jeff and his family to the river to be able to cross the next site for the Underground Railroad. I also like the line, but we cross without a line. We cross without a sound, like the moon coming up over my shoulder to float across the sky. It's comparing it how without a sound a moon comes over his shoulder for how they cross the river. They have to be so still and so quiet. Waiting. Runaways like us must hide in daylight. So come morning we crouch in the bushes till night. It's hot. Sweat dribbles down my neck. Thorns rake my arms and legs. In the still afternoon, mosquitoes whine and tease, just like the overseer's children did. And I really have to think about what the overseer's children mean. That means the children who were part of the family who owned the farm would kind of taunt them, like tease the people and the children who are working in the fields. All I can do is wait for the cover of darkness. Oh, if only I could dance into the open and sing so loud the stars would hear and hurry out to guide our way. Watching. We run and hide, my cuts sting, my bites itch. I'm hungry all the time. One day at dusk we make our way to a patch of woods at the edge of a town. There are more houses here, people, roads, danger. The others rest while I keep watch for a sign from the Underground Railroad. The friends who will help us get free. Hooey, hooey, hooey. An owl trills softly. I stop my breath to listen. Is it really an owl, or the railroad's secret code, a sign that a friend is near? No, there he is, just a small fat bird with round yellow moons for eyes. It makes me remember or think about how they have to be on their toes all the time when they were escaping, because anything could have been a sign. They had to be aware of danger. They had to be aware of others who were on the trail, and they had to be aware of those who were helping them and trying to give them signs without giving everybody away. I try to be an owl myself, but my eyes hurt with watching. Then I see a woman walk through her yard wearing a plain dress. On her arm she carries a quilt to air. She hangs it over the fence, then looks to the woods just once. I stare with all my might. I know what to look for. In most quilts, center squares are red for home and hearth, but these centers are a dark, deep blue. This house hides runaways. So they were looking for secret clues to be able to determine if that house was part of the Underground Railroad system where they could stay without getting caught. And they realized that these squares inside are blue, where they are usually red. I am brave enough to go forward first. When at last the stars are up, I pull the darkness around me and run through long wet grass. My foot trembles on the wooden step, and my knock is shivery and quick, like the beating of my heart. "Who's there?" comes a voice. I swallow hard before I give the password. What if I am wrong? But I trust the quilt, so I say, the friend of a friend. He has to be so weary or so leery about trying to make sure that this house actually hides runaways, because the consequence, if they don't and he tries to use the password, they could get caught and have the severe consequences going back to their master. Hiding. By the looks on their faces, it looks like they are safe. A man and a woman let us in. They give us clean clothes, hot stew and biscuits, sweet cherry pie. We talk in whispers so we won't wake their little boy, already tucked in bed. Their daughter, just my age, lets me hold her kitten. We follow her lantern up narrow stairs to a secret room. "Sleep now. Tonight we'll keep watch," she says. Wow, what kind-hearted people to be able to keep them there. Think about other words that would describe this family. I lie awake wondering about others who have hidden here. I won't ever know their names, but I find a message, a rough carved place in the wood under my mat. I make my fingers into eyes to explore it. Just before I fall asleep, I see it is a star. Traveling. Wake up! Hurry! Your master and his men are close behind. Our friend whisks us through the last folds of night and hides us deep in his wagon. The cold boards make me shiver. Straw pricks my skin like needles. We go north across a bridge under trees, a zigzag of here and there. We can't turn back. We would be beaten, sold away. Our chance is gone for good. We must go on or die. I hang on tight. Fear is so real it lies here beside me. The wagon rattles, horses clomp. Suddenly, I tremble. Voices! This completely reminds me of Follow the Drinking Gourd, when Tommy was stopped by the U.S. Marshal, because he had to really think about how to get the wagon past the marshal without getting checked. The same thing here. These people are hiding within the wagon. They have to make sure, the driver has to make sure he doesn't let the people who stop them search for the people there. We are looking for runaways. What's in your wagon? Barks a voice. Eggs, sacks of grain, vegetables to sell at morning market, says our driver, smooth as honey. Search me if you'd like. I'm no friend of the slave. I keep still as a rock, though it feels like my heart will split. I love the simile there. As still as a rock. So she's not moving at all, even though her heart feels like it's going to break in two because she's so nervous about what's going to happen. But the searchers are fooled, and at last they gallop off. Phew. Our friend laughs and cracks the reins. He calls to his horses, "Giddy up, hope and liberty," and the wagon rolls on. They're safe. Singing. Birds wake, a rooster calls. I listen to night softly falling away. We stop at a little church deep in a piney wood. I pick the straw from my hair and rub my stiff, cramped legs. Our friend takes a stick and draws a map in the dirt. Off of the road it will take to Canada. These good folks will carry you on, he says. You're almost to freedom now. I can't imagine the long journey that they had on this road to freedom. Over the trees, the sun comes up. The dark pines glow like gold. Freedom! I take a deep breath, and when I let it go, my voice flies up in a song, my own song of running in sunshine and dancing through fields. I'll jump every fence in my way. Wow, what a great use of a metaphor at the end. I'll jump every fence in my way. Meaning she's not going to let anything stop her now, because now that she's free, she is able to overcome anything. That was a huge thing to overcome, just getting to freedom. And she must be overjoyed. I can just see that from the words on the page and from the look in her eyes. So I hope that you can kind of see the connection between Follow the Drinking Gourd and Under the Quilt of Night to be able to see the correlation between these people and their journeys. Let's take a look at the very last page. I'm going to read the first couple of paragraphs to you, just about the story, thinking about the quilt and what it meant here in the story compared to was it really something that was true. Under the Quilt of Night is an imagined journey. It is a fictitious story, so it's fictional, inspired by the Underground Railroad, and it mixes fact and folklore. So it's kind of like historical fiction. The Underground Railroad, of course, was not actually underground, nor was it a railroad. It was a secret network of people who helped others to escape slavery. It was most active in the 1850s, in the years just before the Civil War. Just as we don't learn the name of the girl who tells this story, we don't know the names of most who escaped on the Underground Railroad. Activities took place in secret and weren't written down. Those fleeing slavery faced incredible danger and hardships. The free blacks and whites who helped them also faced risks. Many stories have grown up around quilts and the Underground Railroad. Some think quilts included hidden messages or were hung to mark as safe houses, while others believe these stories are just simply folklore. So this was interesting to see that, because even though this story actually is centered around that one house having a quilt out there, it might not have actually happened, but there have been stories passed down like that was a sign that that was a safe house. We do know that fugitives were hidden in many ways, sometimes in secret rooms or tunnels, other times in wagons with false bottoms, or simply under straw in the back of carts. We also know from songs like Follow the Drinking Gourd that enslaved people used the North Star to help them locate north, where Canada and freedom lay. In this story, the girl finds a star someone has carved in the floor as a hopeful sign of freedom, just like the North Star that we talked about in Follow the Drinking Gourd, and the Big Dipper, which is what it was made from. When I was a fourth grader, the Underground Railroad was mentioned in just a few lines in our history textbook. Today, many books and internet sites have information about this part of our history. In communities, people are working together to remember family stories and to find and preserve Underground Railroad routes and houses, but some of our past may always be hidden from us.